Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 11, Episode 38. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us on this very, very busy Monday, Victory Monday for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they knock off the Baltimore Ravens 28-24, continue their undefeated season at 7-0, and the game itself is not the only story of the day. Of course, Dave, the Steelers have made a trade acquiring linebacker Avery Williamson from the New York Jets. So much to talk about today. We'll obviously probably begin the show with the Williamson deal. But first of all, hello, and how are you, Dave Bryan?
I'm doing good. You know, as we used to say back when I, was on the road with sales and all like that, sleep fast, and at no point yesterday morning when I crawled out of bed did I think that my night would end by watching New York Jets tape.
A cruel and unusual punishment as outlined by the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, you would think I was getting punished for something there, but oh boy, we got a lot to get to today, and it never felt better to be so wrong about the outcome of a prediction of the Steelers game than it was to be wrong about the one yesterday against the Ravens.
You and me both, although the Steelers certainly did their best to make us right about that game, but we'll cover that in a moment. I think, of course, the right thing to do right now is to lead off with the Avery Williamson trade and reaction to that and his impact potentially with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the news came across late last night. Again, Avery Williamson, linebacker from the Jets, is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's about to arrive in Pittsburgh. Right now, the team just announced the move as official, and so as terms of the deal, the Steelers will get Avery Williamson and a 2022, so not this upcoming draft, but the draft after that, 2022 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2022 5th-round pick, which to me, Dave, is basically getting a veteran linebacker for peanuts.
Yeah, almost, for peanuts and really virtually for free, if you will, there. Because, look, I mean, Avery Williamson, we'll see what happens with him the rest of the season. And I doubt that, I know there's some talk about, well, will they try to extend him and get an extra year added on? I kind of doubt that's going to happen. Avery Williamson, is I think we kind of outlined maybe in a previous show there, when talking about the two highest possibilities of players they would trade for being, Gerard Davis and Williamson. Both those guys are in the final year of their current contracts. So this is a half a season rental here, if you will. And then you hope that he plays well enough that he gets some attraction on the free agent market, in March and April there, and maybe at worst you get back out of all this, a 5th or 6th round compensatory value for 2022 there. So, look, there's not a whole heck of a lot of salary involved here. I think somewhere around $1.88 million is what the Steelers are going to have to take on here as far as salary when it comes to Avery Williamson's contract, and that's only if he plays in, if he plays in every game, dresses for every game, because he's got roster or game roster bonuses tied to it there. So, it's understandable why they did what they did. I think it was kind of, I think the whole thing with the Ulysses Gilbert back thing that potentially flared up this past week probably instigated the matter, if you will. Not that it doesn't mean that they weren't looking into it anyway, which they probably were, but they probably said, look, we can get this guy for next to nothing. Probably held out as long as possible, talking to the Jets on it. Then kind of last minute said, look, this is it, take it or leave it. The Jets probably didn't have a better, or obviously didn't have a better deal on the table there at that time. So it makes sense all the way around, and we'll see what Avery can do in these final half of the season.
Yeah, before I get into the player himself, the reason why I especially like that it came from the 2022 draft pool, the fifth rounder they're sending to the Jets, is because you didn't want to touch your 2021 pool because you're going to need those draft picks to replenish some of the losses you're going to have in free agency. Not that a fifth round pick alone could do that, but it's going to overall help. And then, of course, as you mentioned, you may get something compensatory for Williamson after this year for 2022 and recoup that 2 years from now. And of course, you're going to definitely get a slew of comp picks for 2022 after you lose Bud Dupree and Juju and Villanueva and all the guys we've talked about. So basically, by the time 2022 rolls around the draft, you're not going to feel that fifth round pick because you're going to have multiple comp picks. So I absolutely love trading 2 years now, two future years from now pick for Williamson as opposed to 2021. I think it's a really smart move by Colbert.
Yeah, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a cheeseburger today.
Because you're getting cheese,
that's
you're getting a couple more cheeseburgers down the road.
You don't even that phrase means nothing to you, does it?
You've used it a bunch.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh, but I don't have a full understanding of the origin story.
Yeah,
of that.
that's old Popeye Popeye cartoon. But go ahead.
Well, to Williamson, the player, and so I think at a quote-unquote worst-case scenario here, because, again, I mean, you've given up so little. I mean, whatever happens with Williamson, you're probably not going to be too mad about the production. I think he's a really good depth piece because, as you said, there really isn't any depth right now, especially if UG3's back injury is going to be a longer-term thing, which this may signal that it is. Unfortunately, he's dealt with a lot of back problems already just 2 years into his NFL career, and I think he dealt with it in college in Akron as well. And so the question is, what exactly is Williamson's role going to be? And for me, Dave, and we'll see how the team does it, and it may change with time, and obviously he's got to get acclimated in the system and get cleared with COVID stuff and all that, so it may be different, his role Sunday against Dallas than it is going to be in the Thanksgiving rematch versus Baltimore, but I'd be okay if he was just pure depth, if he was just kind of a pure backup linebacker behind Spillane, behind Vince Williams, and if another injury happens, then he can ascend and be a run stuffer in base and a nickel. That's kind of my initial thought on how I personally would use Avery Williamson.
Here's the thing that you and I talked about ahead of this too. These two games meaning the Titans and the game against the Ravens, really set up, for as unfortunate of a situation as it was, obviously with losing Devin Bush. These two games that they just played set up really nice for having to have a guy like Robert Spillane play a large amount of snaps. Both kind of real run heavy teams, teams where having more Buck-like inside linebackers, even if it meant two of them on the field a lot, was going to probably really, really help you out a lot. Now, I talked quite a bit about how I thought, a guy like Robert Spillane is a little bit underrated athletically, and really instinctually as well too. I think we've seen that in the last couple of games as well too. That pick six of his right out of the chute. People tried to downplay it. He during his press conference last night after the game tried to downplay that on him and say, hey, was that the easiest touchdown you ever scored? Yeah, sure. If you want to sit back, read, have to drop into zone, read a quarterback's eyes, yada yada. Let's not just pawn that off as the easiest play of the year that a Steelers defender is going to make, this season here. So, look, Has he had his warts in these two games? Absolutely. I think one of those runs over to the right side there, if Devin Bush is on the field, Devin Bush probably cuts that off. The sideline speed there. That's obviously the kind of stuff where you lose not having Devin Bush on the field right now. Now, does Devin Bush read that coverage the way Spillane did and make that pick six and all? I don't know. Nobody knows the answer to that. Does Devin Bush make that pass break up later on in the second half on the running back on third and whatever it was there, just short of the line to gain? I don't know. But I tell you what, Robert Spillane has played above the line, as Mike Tomlin likes to say. Mm-hmm. Mike Tomlin has praised this kid right now. Now, how much of it is, look, we might as well praise him. It's all we got, was it lip service or, is this team really okay with Robert Spillane playing the bulk of the snaps on defense right now? Here's what I'm willing to bet won't happen, at least right out of the chute. Spillane's still going to play a large amount of snaps and probably a lot more than Avery Williamson is. Avery might not. We'll see how the whole COVID thing goes and all like that.
Right.
But you might not even be able to get in a position, even if Avery Williamson is able to dress on Sunday against the Cowboys. He might be extremely limited because of practice time and yada yada that you can get him on the field. So you're going to have to indoctrinate Avery Williamson, right out of the chute here, and that's going to take a little bit of time. To think he's just going to come in and play 70% of the snaps, I think, is ludicrous. Now, will it get to that point? We'll see. I mean, you're obviously moving. We talked about what best sets up for this team in the game against the Titans and the Ravens. We are now past those games now. So I think you look at this on a game per game basis, and I think more than anything, and I think you hit it on the head with him. I think he's a depth player to start off. I think you can obviously get him on the field in some sub package situations if you want. But here's the long and short of it. It always goes back to the tape, right? And I went and dug into tape last night. I know you did as well too. This is not the same Avery Williamson from 2 years ago, okay? I went back automatically just to go back and look pre-ACL injury on him at kind of the player that he was moving in space versus the player he is right now in space. He is not the same player. He is more of a buck linebacker than he is a run and chase linebacker. He will get himself in trouble either as a zone defender or specifically when he has to move out in space and play some man coverage there. Is he much better in coverage than either Vince Williams or Robert Spillane? Yeah, I'm not too sure he is, but at least he gives you a very heady player, a very smart player, a guy that's used to appears to be smart enough to call a defense and give you all those leadership qualities on the field there, which is another layer of depth behind Vince Williams and Robert Spillane. And I'll shut up now.
To go back with Spillane and just to look at the potential role for Williamson before I get into the player they're getting, with Spillane, I think it's tough to take him off the field for two reasons. One, I think he is playing overall well right now. Again, as you said, there were some flaws and some warts and some sideline-to-sideline stuff. I mean, obviously, Robert Spillane is not defending the option as well as Devin Bush would. But to be honest, Avery Williamson probably isn't doing it a whole lot better either. And so I think Spillane is playing well. He made some big plays in coverage, earning their respective teammates and coaching staff. And I think a lot of what Tomlin said, to go back to what you said, is sincere. Two, and maybe more importantly, Spillane is calling your defense right now. Mm-hmm. So if he's off the field and Williamson is on it, is Williamson going to call your defense? Obviously, he's not going to be doing that right away. It may come with time, but even then, it's a guy that's trying to get on the moving train, as Mike Tomlin says. And so there's a risk associated with that. So is Williamson going to supplant Spillane in base and nickel to start or even for large chunks of the season? I kind of hope not. So the question is, could Williamson play in dime? That was my initial thought. But as you said, watching the tape, this is a guy that is a zone dropper. He is a hook, curl, zone defender that is not going to do too well in man coverage. And when the Steelers play dime, they're often playing a good deal of man coverage. The time linebacker usually manned up on the running back. And so is there a role for Williamson in dime? That would be the most logical place, especially knowing UG3's back injury. But is he best suited for that? I'm not sure either. So that's kind of where I'm at just of a depth approach right now. We may disagree slightly. I think Williamson could play on special teams. I don't know if you're there. I saw some of your tweets last night. But I think he's, as you said, a smart player, a fundamental player. He wraps up. He's got some hit power. He breaks down. He's not going to kill you. I mean, I watched a ton of Williamson last night, and there wasn't one play that made me go, wow, that's a great play. But there wasn't one play that made me go, wow, that's a really bad play by Avery Williamson. Just a very high floor, low ceiling, consistent run-stuffing linebacker that's often around the football.
Yeah, he plays well downhill, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's he's similar to Vince and Spillane. I don't know if he's quite as good as those guys, but like he's not that much different, however you want to judge that.
Right. I think the thing that sticks out, and really in the game against the Chiefs yesterday, he just that C to do that he just doesn't move like he did 2-3 years ago out in space.
Right. And we should preface he tore his ACL in 2019. He missed all of last year in a preseason injury. So that's where you're getting those comments from, for those who don't know.
Right. And he doesn't have any TFLs, I don't think, so far this season. He did have kind of the I don't know what kind of a gift interception, I guess you'd call it, maybe against the Cardinals early
tip pass.
Early in the season there. A guy that will give, I think, in the stopping successful run department is probably on early downs is probably where he's going to benefit you the most. Does he maybe get to the edge on that play that Robert Spillane didn't get to the edge on yesterday? Yeah, I don't know about that. But here's the thing. Once again, after all what Mike Tomlin preaches and says and does when it comes to players such as Robert Spillane, especially on the heels of the 2 games that Robert Spillane has had for this team, it would be one hell of a message to the team if he just yanked Robert Spillane off the field right now for the majority of the snaps in lieu of Avery Williamson. That's not what Mike Tomlin does. Now, could Spillane play himself out of that job in the next 2 games? Sure, it's totally possible, plausible. And Avery Williamson has a lot of experience, a lot more experience on the field there. But for right now, this is still the predominant. And you look, there's certain down and distances that Vince Williams just not coming off the field for either.
Right.
Nobody's having a better season probably overall when it comes to playing downhill than him right now. Not only rushing the quarterback, which has always been the case, but the whole TFL. And look, his communication out there as well too. That guy on a week by game situation is doing a great job of herding the cattle after Robert Spillane puts the call out. If you will there. So this should be viewed as a depth move initially, at least in the next 2 weeks, and then the play on the field will decide what happens between Spillane and Avery Williamson after that.
I agree. And I would be okay as we sit here today. And of course, things can change because of Spillane's performance. Maybe it gets worse over the next couple of weeks, although I think he'll continue to get better with reps. And while there were some struggles yesterday, for sure, you're facing 2 of the top rushing attacks in Tennessee and Baltimore. So there's a welcome to the NFL. Definitely some tough tasks. But I would be okay if all Williamson is just depth to protect yourself if Vince or Spillane gets hurt, because assuming UG3's back issue is going to be a thing, there's literally nothing else behind those guys. So you got Marcus Allen who can play in dime, but you probably don't want him playing in your base and nickel, where Williamson can play much better and give you something there. So if all Williamson is just basically pure depth who fills in for a spot start or for a half if somebody gets hurt or whatever the case is, and he runs down kicks and punts, I'm okay with that. I kind of prefer that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, look, he's a little bit better linebacker than Bostic was a few years ago. At this stage, I think right now, to what degree, I don't know. Once again, the thing that sticks out the most about him is not so much him. He's a better downhill linebacker, I think, than Bostic was, who wasn't bad playing downhill. I just think out in space is just where the limitations show, at least on the tape that I've seen already there. So, and look, here's the other thing about this. We talked ahead of this, and it really, I didn't dig deep enough into it. The Steelers usually do things associated with players that they have some sort of a history with or like, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, now I don't believe we have anything on Avery Williamson visiting, right? Back in 2000 and when would that have been?
13?
13, 14? No, 2014 was a pro day, I think, right?
Okay. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, there was no obvious link to Williamson and the Steelers from that side of things.
Right. However, after you do a little bit of digging, Avery Williamson obviously went to went played his college football at Kentucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, who was the head coach for most of the time that Avery Williamson was there?
Well, you answer this because you did all the research, and I don't want to feel like I'm stealing your thunder.
All right, well, Joker Phillips, and Mike Tomlin's always been kind of good friends with Joker Phillips. In fact, we have a post on his site from Mike Tomlin being at a Kentucky game back in 2012, I think, or 13. They're sitting alongside Joker Phillips, and anyway, so Joker obviously was the head coach for most of the time that Avery Williamson was at Kentucky, and then. Kind of fast forward there. I don't know, and I tried to look back to see if we had anything on Mike Tomlin going to that pro day that year that Williamson came out, which I think was the year that Stoops had taken over as head coach at Kentucky there. I don't have anything on that, but obviously Mike Tomlin. Having the line back to Kentucky there is huge, and then go to find out, and I didn't even put the 2 and 2 together until after that. Guess who is the Maryland wide receiver coach right now? A place that the Steelers were all over last year, college. Yep, Joker Phillips. And guess who is a wide receiver right now at the University of Maryland? Dino Tomlin. So there you go. It's easy to draw some lines back to Williamson and Kentucky. So I'm willing to bet that Mike Tomlin had a pretty good idea what kind of underwear Avery Williamson wears prior to the team trading for him. So once again, we talk about how this team likes pedigree. This team likes guys that have, they know a lot about. I.e., a lot of times guys being, already being in their building. So while Avery Williamson, I don't think has been in the building, I think they knew quite a bit about him already before trading for him. And obviously, Avery Williamson played at University of Kentucky, was a year or two ahead of Bud Dupree as well there as well. So there's your connect the dots there.
Very good sleuthing. Very good, Jeff Goldblum. Kind of thing you got going on over there with all the.
I got my hands kind of circling right now, and the blackboard up or the board with all the lines connecting and all like that. So there you go.
And I think Jeremy Fowler tweeted out last night the Steelers looked at Avery Williamson when he was a free agent in 2018. They signed John Bostic that year, so they've had a file on Williamson, I'm sure, for a long time, and that's the benefit of having the same head coach and general manager for a decade plus, because you just have all these files and scouting reports and all the same information on these guys, and you just kind of look back at that and watch the tape this year, and that makes you a lot more comfortable in your evaluation of this stuff. So overall, I think it's a fine move. I think it was probably a needed move given the depth issues right now. Gives you a lot of protection, and if, again, worst case scenario, that's all it is just depth and protection, then I'm all for it, because you gave up, again, almost nothing for this guy.
Yeah, you look at the risk versus reward and worst case scenario, and it's very, very low risk type of deal here when it comes to this. And you obviously get another layer of experience depth there with UG3 ailing right now. It prevents you from having to put another inexperienced guy on the field like they did late in that game against the Ravens and Marcus Allen as well there. So another layer. I'm not convinced he's going to play on special teams, talking about Avery Williamson, but I mean, it doesn't mean that he can't. I tell you, somebody who was still seeing some special teams action in that game against the Ravens was Robert Spillane, and I don't think that's going to stop regardless anytime soon. They'll obviously try to trim his numbers back to whatever degree, but you got to take your hat off a hand to that kid, right?
To Spillane? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's making the most of his opportunity. In dime, who would you rather have out there in dime? Spillane, Williamson, or Marcus Allen?
Right now, I'd rather have right now I'd probably have Spillane out there, to be honest with you.
Okay. I would take Spillane. I think Marcus Allen, I want to see more from him, so I'm not opposed to that. Williamson and dime, I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling about it, to be honest with you.
I think there's going to be some level of some sub package that Williamson gets in. Maybe not this next game against
Sure.
Dallas, but by the time they get back around to Baltimore here in a few more weeks, some degree of sub package there.
Any idea on what that specifically could look like?
No.
Yeah, it's just tough because Spillane is your green dot, and I think he's playing well. Again, not flawlessly, but Williamson is not that much different than Spillane. He's not giving you a whole lot different. Obviously, he's a veteran and more experienced, but I think Spillane's playing all right now. But to say the obvious, also obviously Williamson is going to be on a much better team, much better supporting cast, better defensive line, a more aggressive style. So a lot of what the Jets were doing was just basically just trying to tackle the catch, but in the run game where they were just letting the running back get past line of scrimmage, then you just got them down that way. So you're going to see in a more aggressive defense that should provide Williamson more chances for tackles for loss and just a totally different style of defense, it feels like.
Yeah. Low risk, high reward possibility here. And then once again, if he leaves and when he leaves in March or April, maybe you get 5th or 6th round compensatory pick value back. So good on Kevin Colbert.
Yeah, way to be aggressive. This is a roster that can certainly win a Super Bowl. You're 7-0. Let's, be aggressive. And again, not having to trade next year's assets in terms of draft picks, I think, was really important. So
the reason I wasn't high on him was a lot more higher than Gerard Davis, because I just think, really Gerard Davis is for the most part just gives you another one of what you have. Is what it felt like. It didn't necessarily feel to me on the tape that Avery Williamson was much of an upgrade over, UG3. Obviously from an experience aspect with both of them, he is, and that probably has some level of degree of comfort level to this as well too. But that's that and kind of the cost associated with it. I kind of figured the Jets might get a little bit better offer somewhere else on that, and I just did not see Avery being that marketable overall to a team like the Steelers.
Yeah, well, it's just the Jets are a fire sale. He's rental kind of guy, and so you get what you get for him. And he's excited to be in Pittsburgh. I saw he was Instagram on live last night, excited to come here, and he's going from the only winless team in football to the only undefeated team in football. So talk about a glow up in 24 hours.
Absolutely, and boy, this is the latest the Steelers have dealt for a player in the Kevin Colbert era since what year did I say? 2013 or 14? Whenever they traded for Levi Brown.
Let's hope it works out better.
Yeah. Levi never even played a game. Pre-game warm-ups, triceps or something like that. Yeah, tore something, and then within I think 14 days of them trading for him, he was placed on IR there. So look, nothing venture, nothing gain, and they don't have a lot to lose in this situation, as we said.
All right, Dave, let's move on now to what happened prior to the craziness Sunday night with the Steelers trade. And there was a game. Hey, they played a game last night, and they won it. 28-24 over the Baltimore Ravens. Another wild, crazy game. Steelers had to rally after a very ugly first half overall. Offense did nothing, and they pull it out. And Minkah Fitzpatrick breaks up the end zone heave by Lamar Jackson as time expired. And so this play literally came down to the last play of the game, and just very typical Steelers-Ravens nail-biter, close game, physical, injuries on both sides, just very emblematic of everything Steelers-Ravens are all about.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to soon forget that one. It had a very, I don't know where you want to start with this, but I'll tell you just my initial thoughts about little more than halfway through that game. It felt very 2019 week 17 like. They're there for a little bit. The way the Ravens would just seem to be picking up steam, being able to run the football. The Steelers not be able to do much of anything on offense. It just had that feel to it. With really the only thing different was Lamar Jackson at quarterback, other than RG3. That's what that game felt like for a good 2/3 of it overall. But That was my initial feel for it. Now, go ahead and start us where you would like us to start at.
Yeah, well, just to give my quick 30,000-foot view, I just got to give a lot of credit to the Steelers for being this resilient team. I mean, they have won in so many ways this year, and I guess that's common whenever you're 7-0. You've won from building a lead and holding on to it. You've won big. You've won from rallying the way they did yesterday. So just really impressive overall for this team to just find ways to win, to battle, to compete. I know some of this sounds a little cliche, but that is just a game where I was not feeling very confident they were going to turn things around, but they did. They made some great adjustments at halftime. So kudos to the coaching staff and kudos to the players for turning the tide in that one, in a game where if you look at some of the numbers, like the Ravens rushing attack, you look at it and say, there's no way the Steelers win this one, but they found a way to pull it out.
Yeah, kind of a obviously not the rushing numbers involved there, but turnovers add up, do they not? I was starting to wonder, are they really going to be on the they were on the right side. The right side of a three turnover, turn the football over themselves 3 times against Tennessee and came out on the right side on that. Are they going to be on the other side of kind of a 3 turnover game, against the Ravens there? But those turnovers added up eventually there, and the fact that the Steelers only turned the football over once, right? Was a huge factor in that, because you look at the top score here once again. I think that the Steelers came out of that -2, and usually when you come out -2, that's going to lose you a ball game there. Definitely if you get into -3 category there. So they were perhaps one explosive play, which probably would have been the last play of the game, if you will, from losing that game. But it's funny that you go back even the series before that, the fourth down play that the Ravens, there were 2. This game came down to one plays, right? It felt like, because honestly, I thought the game was over after they stopped them the first time. But the Steelers couldn't move the football enough, and the Ravens got the football back with plenty of time really overall to make one last charge at it. Good thing they needed a touchdown in that situation there, but literally it came down to 2 must-have plays situations in that game.
Yeah, and that's how it often is with these two teams. I want to get into the offense here in a moment, Dave, but let's look at the injury report before we get into the nitty-gritty of this game. And unfortunately for both sides, some injuries in this one. It looks like Baltimore is a little bit more serious than Pittsburgh, but for the Steelers, Cam Hayward with some sort of left knee, maybe it appears. There's a report from Jerry Dulac that says it's not considered to be serious, and Tyson Alualu leaving that game early after a cut block by fullback Patrick Ricard with a right knee injury that certainly the Steelers felt his loss early and often in that one, and so his status is unknown right now. Mike Tomlin did not have much of an update on either guy post-game, but definitely defensive line depth being tested these last couple of weeks, with Chris Wormley also placed on injured reserve.
Boy, who thought we would get to the middle of the season and us being lamenting the fact that, oh man, lost Tyson Alualu early in the game. Can you believe that? What a huge blow. And It was exactly that. It was a huge blow to this defense, losing Tyson Alu. I think he played six snaps in total before leaving. I think he tried to play after that initial. I think that cut block happened early there on him as well too. They tried to play through it, just couldn't.
Yeah, so hopefully these injuries are not considered to be serious right now. There's no indication they're going to be long-term things, but they may be some short-term things where obviously their availability for Sunday's game versus Dallas at Dallas is going to be in question right now. And so the Steelers only finished yesterday with 3 healthy defensive linemen. Now Hayward ended up leaving the game on the next last play of it, so they didn't have to have 3 for too long, but it was Stephon Tuitt, Isaiah Buggs, and Henry Mondo. And so hopefully you can at least get one of Hayward or Alualu back. Again, that's uncertain right now, but Wormley's on injured reserve with that knee injury. That roster move was made prior to the Ravens game, and so you're really looking at some young guys like Isaiah Buggs, like Mondo, to step up, because their role in some form or fashion is going to likely continue to expand when the Steelers play Dallas this Sunday.
Look, I'm me, I'm not going to make light of injuries or anything like that at all. Make fun of them or anything. I hate it. It's the worst part of us of the game and what we have to cover on a week in, week out basis and read on the Twitter machine. Every time there's a game, I hate that aspect of it. However, I hope it wasn't nothing serious. Obviously, we'll find out in a few more days here. we going to get Best Actor award? Is Oscar going to go to Cameron Hayward here?
I don't know. That dude looked like he was hurting pretty good. He left the game earlier. He was cramping or something.
Sure.
And then
I think that was. I think that was really. Yeah, I think it was cramps early. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
The thought, obviously you think, man, and the way they checking his knee and all like that, and then helped off and all like that. There was a part of me wondering because of game situation, and plus he was worn out too. I mean,
sure.
Without question, there was a part of me that wondered, how much was that an act or not? And look, I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just one of those things that ran through my head because of the game situation and all like that. Hopefully that's all it was. But the thought crossed my head, boy, he's maybe in the running for the Oscar here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if he obviously would have wanted to be out there for the final play of the game if he was able to. So I think he was
maybe he's just cramped up. Maybe he's just locked up bad. You know?
I don't know what the nature of it was, but I think whatever it was, it was hurting him and literally had to be helped off the field by teammates. And so looks like he's going to be relatively okay, but could he miss a week? That's certainly possible. We just don't know right now. But for Baltimore, they had some losses too. They lose Ronnie Stanley at their left tackle for the season with an ankle injury. Just days removed from him signing a long-term deal. So I'm glad he got paid, but certainly a really tough blow to him. So just one of those trench warfare games where there were a lot of casualties, unfortunately.
You just never know where, and just kind of a freak thing where TJ Watt's coming in behind him and rolls up right by on the back of his legs, and I guess just snapped his ankle there, got caught up underneath him falling backwards like that. What a great player Stanley is, for sure. You hate to see a great guy like that, and they had also had I think the series before or two series before had lost their starting right guard to an injury as well too. So for losing the two starters on the offensive line that they lost, boy, they sure didn't seem to miss a beat run blocking. I'll tell you that. I think they swapped Brown over to the left side there, and I think they brought Fluker in over the right side. That worked well, obviously, against the Steelers for the most part, especially in the running game there. Losing a guy like Stanley is not going to be easy for them to overcome. Plain and simple. I know it's one guy, next man up, yada yada, but that's an all Pro Bowl kind of player there. So that loss will be felt by the Ravens. You just hate to see it, happen, to anybody in that situation. The guy just signed a big mega deal. And I think they said he tore a few ligaments. I think Ian Rappaport tweeted out this morning that as well too. So that's going to add, look, these kind of things happen mid-season like that. Kind of hard for that guy to get back, that quick. By the start of the season, so he might be in that category of starting the 2021 season on the reserve PUP list with him.
Well, thoughts that Ronnie Stanley has a quick and speedy recovery. Hope to see him out there for next season because, as you said, he's a great tackle, and you hate to see that for anybody, especially for a good dude like Ronnie Stanley. To go back to Pittsburgh and their injuries.
One other thing about Alu, boy, he sure seemed to be moving around okay. Not that you can read too much into it, but he was active on the sideline, even though he didn't get back in the game. So
he was standing, like he was putting weight on his knees, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I would think that's some sort of a good sign there, at least not season-ending kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't think we're there with him. I just don't know. Could this be a week-to-week thing? That's possible. And that's kind of where I'm at with both guys, with Alu and Cam Hayward right now. But hopefully those guys come back sooner than later. Also, other injuries that happened pregame in terms of the inactive list. Jordan Dangerfield inactive with a quad, UG3 with that back, and Mike Hilton was a game-time decision but did not play due to that shoulder injury. So Cam Sutton continued to start in nickel. Other inactives included Josh Dobbs, Carlos Davis, Zach Gentry, and Derwin Gray. So hopefully get back Dangerfield and Hilton, and we'll see on Gilbert for the Dallas game. Yeah,
I thought it was setting up pretty good for Hilton to dress. The way the moves took place on Saturday there. I really thought there was a good chance that that Hilton would dress. Now, Derek Watt, who also ended the week listed as questionable, did dress, but he didn't play any.
Not a single snap.
Not a single snap.
Okay.
None on offense and none on special teams either.
Why was he active?
Yeah, good question.
Get Gentry up. I mean, he could do similar-ish. I don't know. Kind of weird decision.
Yeah, it was a kind of a weird decision there, if you ask me. So anyway, hopefully he'll be, hopefully with 2 games essentially off now for Derek Watt, he'll be ready to play against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. And last bit of housekeeping before we circle back to the Ravens game. Steelers on, I think this was Saturday, they placed Chris Wormley on injured reserve, and they had some roster elevations. They called up, signed Trey Edmonds to the 53. It's not an elevation. He is now signed, and they elevated Jay Elliott, the linebacker, Antoine Brooks Jr., the 6th-round rookie out of Maryland. Both guys dressed. Did either of them play? I have not seen
Brooks did not play. Him and Derek Watt were the two. Derek Watt and Mason Rudolph were the 3 players that did not see the field for the Steelers.
So Elliott did play some on special teams?
Elliott did, just like 3 or 4 special team snaps.
Okay, so those guys will go back down to the practice squad today, talking about Elliott and Brooks, and Edmonds is still on the 53, although we'll see how his roster spot status changes with other guys like Derek Watt get healthier and hopefully be ready to play versus Dallas. So that is your injury wrap up. So, Dave, to go
how about some minutia real quick? Would you like to step in some minutia?
I don't think I have.
The thing with Avery Williamson, you would think that they're going to get some sort of a roster exemption with him for the next couple of days. We saw the recent trade with the Bengals and the Seahawks. Both those teams got roster exemptions for those players due to the COVID testing and all. So the deal for Avery Williamson will not be made official until he passes a physical, and until and then even after that, I would think that you're going to get a couple of days of roster exemption there when it comes to him. So they won't have to make a reciprocal move for him, at least right out of the chute. Who knows? Maybe they'll get a roster exemption until Friday when it comes to Avery Williamson. That would be nice there. But that's one bit of news there. Also, don't forget about Stefan Wisniewski. His 21-day window, I think, comes to an end on Tuesday. So that's one move or one roster spot. You would think that he's ready to come to the 53. So somebody going to have to go to make room for him with all these injuries around the NFL at offensive line right now. Do you really want to part ways? Is Derwin Gray somebody you want to put back out there on the street? Or J.C. Hassenauer, is that somebody you want to put out on the street right now? So interesting to see what's going to happen here as far as making room for essentially 2 more players than Avery Williamson and Stefan Wisniewski.
Yeah, I think Edmonds is probably one guy that'll go, and then the other could be an offensive lineman, but I think some of it will be just dependent on the injuries his team's dealing with overall right now. But we'll have to see and expect those decisions on Friday, Saturday. You think they can wait till then?
The Wisniewski one can't. I think, right. I think he's got to be activated by Tuesday at 4, I think.
Is it? Okay. So that's coming up pretty quickly.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll keep you posted on that. Keep an eye on that for sure, because that is important information to definitely keep an eye on in terms of the roster shuffling that's going to happen this week. All right, Dave, let's move on to the Steelers offense from yesterday's game, and it was really a tale of 2 halves. Just a terrible showing in the first half. Roethlisberger completing just 4 passes. The offense going 0 for 3 on 3rd down just did absolutely nothing offensively. And then in the second half, they really just gave the keys to Ben and said, run the show. And I think Ben said they really just barely even called plays in the second half. It was a lot of just Ben Ball making stuff up, calling stuff at the line. Their huddle rate went from 25% in the first half to 43% in the second half. And it showed. It got the Steelers in the right situations. They were in a lot of 4 receiver sets, literally 4 wide receiver sets, 1 tight end, no back, and spread the field out, forced the Ravens to bail out of some of their blitzes or declare some of their blitzes if they were bringing pressure. And it was just really for as much as the offense struggled and Ben struggled in the first half, what Ben did in the second half of that game was some of the best football I've seen him play all season long.
Yeah, a lot of take what they give you. It felt like, and look, in the second half, a lot of empty backfields. They really were looking and saying, look, the Ravens seem like they want to play a lot of man across here, so and lock us up that way. So that okay, we'll line them up across and then go after their weakest player in each of those situations. It seemed like, and then kind of design stuff off of that. Now, a lot of audibles going on, I think, from Ben in a lot of those no-huddle situations. I think he broke it down correctly in what they were doing there in the second half. I don't think it was as draw up in dirt as he makes it sound. But
I don't know. There was definitely some plays where it felt like it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not saying there wasn't some of it. I just question how much of it there was, overall there. But it was effective. Once again, not great throwing the football down the field for Ben Roethlisberger. I think 0 for 7 on total throws, deep throws down the field. Officially, I think 0 for 4 because 3 of those drew pass interference penalties of 70-something yards. So there's a great book, the hidden yardage, that talks about the hidden yardage of football. There is 70-something yards of hidden yardage in deep ball incompletions off of the arm of Ben Roethlisberger. So I thought pregame and wrote pregame that the Steelers were going to need 3 explosive plays down the field of throws by Ben Roethlisberger to win the game. Well, do you consider pass interference penalties explosive plays? If you do,
function the same. Yeah.
If you do, correctamundo, as the great Arthur Fonzarelli would say, which that goes way over your head.
I get a little happy days. I get you.
But a lot of other kind of shorter intermediate stuff. I think his average intended air yards was somewhere around 7. Once again on that, I thought he had a lot more pinpoint accuracy in the second half than he did in the first half there. And they kind of methodically just went down. And more importantly, they put the ball in the end zone when they got deep.
3 for 3 in the red zone. And just, overall, I thought Ben's command of the offense really just kind of felt like that player coach out there against a incredibly tough, chaotic, confusing Baltimore Ravens defense. Their defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, to me is one of the top DCs in football, and they just throw every sort of look at you. And it's so tough to know who's coming, who's going, who's dropping, where the pressure's going to be coming from. And to handle all that and to really beat the Ravens at their own game and just out-scheme them was really impressive. And let me read Ben's quote here, talking about it after the game. He said, quote, I was telling the line the protection and moving guys around and playing backyard football, if you will. I don't know if we called too many quote-unquote plays in the second half when we were in that mode. It was more, hey, run this, run this, run this. And to me, that's a credit to the receivers and Eric Ebron and the other guys that are just able to make plays. So a lot of young guys out there, a lot of new faces, some different formations and personnel groupings they haven't used. And so for Ben to put those guys in the right spots, for those guys to execute, to get on the same page, no one making any mental mistakes, running the wrong route or whatever the case was, just really impressive collective effort. But Ben really just took charge in the second half. And if he doesn't play like that, they don't win this game.
A lot of 3x2 going on.
Kind of empty.
In the second half there, and several plays. One side, I'm not sure every player, every eligible on every play during that second half knew what their route responsibility
was. There was that one where like Deontay's going like, I don't know what the play is, and Ben's like, I'm throwing left. You guys don't know what's happening up top.
Right, and I think in so many words, I think McLeod was the translator and all that. Probably just said, just run a screen,
Yeah, that's what Johnson did. He just kind of turned and looked at Ben at the snap.
Right. Almost like an RPO, like you would do on the outside on the RPO. And I think that happened more than once on some of those plays. So, look, there were some plays that did look like kind of making it up as you go along. I think the big key there is they knew they saw what the Ravens were going to try to do with them, be physical. They got some good damn corners over there, man. I mean, We knew that going into this, right?
Chase Claypool found out about Marcus Peters on
right.
the fumble.
Absolutely. They got some strong physical corners over there. They're not afraid to man up with you. They're not, and if you get in third and long situations against them, you might as well just walk off the damn field, because Wink is going to send someone carrying the sink with them after you. Usually two guys more than that, and they're not afraid to leave those guys out on islands out there and press and jam you. And they did that. They obviously got away with a call or two down the field a couple times. They're okay with taking that pass interference play on the outside to not get beat in some situations. I think in so many words, they just don't think that you're going to go 80 yards on them.
Right, or they're going to create enough big plays it'll cancel out some of the PIs where that aggressiveness is going to win out more times than it loses. And yeah, it's just tough. I mean, just a lot of chaos. But I really think going empty, putting literally four wide receivers on the field, really forced the Ravens to play more passively. They couldn't bring as much pressure, because if they did, they would have to tip their hand pre-snap, or they wouldn't have cornerbacks covering the four receivers out there. So I really think that package and going empty was the key to slowing down some of the Ravens' chaos and exotic looks they were constantly harassing Pittsburgh with in the first half. So great adjustment there, good execution, not an easy defense to beat, number one defense in football. The Ravens were in points per game, and the Steelers solved them in the second half.
And with them losing, Judon Judon getting tossed from the game, ended up having an effect later on in the game as well too, because in addition to the Steelers going empty there, because who was the other linebacker I think on the field at that time? That's what led to the coverage bust on the Ebron touchdown.
Yeah, it was LJ Fort. We're trying to pass it off to either Patrick Queen or someone else, and there was miscommunication there, and that got Ebron wide open for the walk-in touchdown.
Right. So what you did ultimately, I think, led to the coverage bust there, and then obviously, you know what I like. I know Ben was trying to direct traffic and things like that on late on that other drive down deep at the one there, and they were trying to get things set up, and thank goodness they didn't get that play off, and they just called the timeout there. And after they came out of the timeout, Tony Romo called it, and I had a feeling, and I think I put on Twitter too, just put Claypool in motion here. Line up that look that you've had so much success with inside the red zone deep this year, and just run something off that. So they collected their thoughts. It was a great play call by Randy coming out of the timeout there, to just do the stuff that you've had success down low there. And you send Claypool in motion. That gets you a little bit of elongation in the defense, if you will. James Conner walks in for the touchdown there. So I really like that aspect of it. And then I also like the aspect of them running the smash concept on the outside on the touchdown. I think I saw that one coming, and you probably did as well too on that one. Just a good read by Ben, a nice little pump fake to the out guy on that one, and Chase Claypool just wide open there in the corner in the end zone.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but I broke it down this morning for Steelers Depot, and again, that was empty. That was a four-receiver set. You stack it to the bottom to create the free release, and that's just a good anticipation, because I guess they were probably expecting two deep zone on that play and smash, which is a corner curl combination that really stresses the corner and stresses the safety, and they got two deep zone on that play. And great throw and catch by Claypool. So broke that down this morning. And so underrated moment of that game. I think we almost forget about that touchdown by Claypool because of everything else that happened in the game and late in the game and the last couple of possessions the Ravens had. But that was great call in the red zone. And the Steelers were 3 for 3 in the red zone. And the Ravens had their issues in the red zone. And so that was a big difference in this one. The Steelers, finished their trips inside the 20 with touchdowns. The Ravens did not. They couldn't finish drives. They turned the football over, things like that, and that proved to be the difference in this one. So the Steelers red zone offense probably is now about top 10 in football, and obviously last year it was 32nd, and that's been one of the obvious but most welcome changes from last year to this year.
Absolutely.
So with the offense overall, I got to give a lot of credit to Juju. I think he's playing great these last 2 weeks. I mean, the stats are not particularly gaudy or overly impressive on paper, but this guy's making so many plays on third down, his run after the catch, his toughness. I mean, yesterday just felt like a Hines Ward game. Steelers, Ravens, physical, Juju going over the middle, making tough catches, sacrificing his body, dragging defenders across the first down marker. Just really couple of good performances these last 2 weeks versus Tennessee and versus Baltimore for Juju. He's playing really well. He's a tough dude. We've become more of a possession guy this year for Pittsburgh, but this guy's making some really critical key plays and just a selfless kind of dude.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know what more to say about what that guy gives you and the selflessness, as they say, with that. Just an all-around good team player, and it doesn't stick out what he did yesterday. But I put it on the Twitter machine. I'm trying to find out what the stats were on that yesterday. What I have, something like 30 something or 32 yards after the catch on there, and a lot of those were hard fought yards, on top of it there.
How many of those were on third down? I gotta feel like he had about 6 catches, I think, yesterday, and I feel like half of them came on third down. I'm trying to get the numbers here. There's one that went for a first down. Just trying to do this on the fly here. There was a second one that went for a first down on 3rd and 1. Maybe just 2, but I mean, I don't know. He just made some clutch plays, and he did that versus Tennessee, and he did that versus Baltimore, and just a kind of guy you need for Steelers Ravens.
Let's see. He had 67 yards receiving, but the stats don't show he had 32 after the catch, and a lot of them were hard-fought yards. I mean, that guy. Another thing that they did too, while we're talking about what they did out of empty there too, they just run some simple kind of pick plays off of that as well too. It worked. Made really high percentage throws for Ben high percentage throws for Ben Roethlisberger. So if that's once again it shows how many times now this season have we seen Ben Roethlisberger evaluate situations and be able to adjust mid-game and beyond in that. And I think that's just a testament of him getting a lot better handle on a grasp of things, what he's seeing across from him, and maybe just another element of how him being on the sideline for a good chunk of the 2019 season helped him.
Yeah, I don't think it's cliche to say that Ben is in a better place mentally in terms of seeing the field. He's in a better place now than he's ever been before. And he's always kind of been underrated for the mental side of things, especially over the last 5 years, because he's always been thought of backyard Ben, and he's not Tom Brady, he's not Drew Brees, he's not Peyton Manning, but he has always been, I think, a cerebral guy. And I think that's been on display this entire season, but it was especially evident yesterday in the second half because that was all Ben, just putting the team in right situations, making good decisions, and getting the job done.
And people will see things like the third down screen to James Conner on one of those people hollering for the offensive coordinator's head in situations like that. They brought you get yourself in third and long situations like that. That's the kind of stuff that you have to accept is going to be the byproduct. It's not a design to do that, but when pressure comes, you got to have an outlet like that, and that's why you end up checking down to a running back when you're in third and long situation like that. When the opposing team brings too many for you to handle and the pressure gets there.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens are going to put you in tough situations. They're going to make their plays. They certainly did in the first half and even occasionally did in the second half. But overall, I thought Ben was excellent. Juju was great. Ebron made some tough plays. Claypool had a touchdown, and just overall collective performance, which was needed in the second half to win that one.
You had 2 drops in the first half too, didn't you?
Yeah, Ebron had one.
And Jalen Samuels had one, right? I've seen about enough of that.
Yeah, they were playing Jalen Samuels in some third downs, instead of an extra receiver, they were putting 2 backs with Jalen Samuels out there, and there's no reason for that.
No, I've had enough. I've got that T-shirt already.
He's a receiving back, and he's got bad hands. So you can't be the receiving back on the team and have bad hands. That's just not how it works.
The first thing that came to my mind during that drop, Alex, was last season against the Ravens. I think he had 2 drops, didn't he, in that Week 5 game? I know he had at least one of them.
I just remember the Wildcat game and.
Right. He had at least one in that Ravens game. I think he may have had 2 in that game, one in the second half on top of it. It's like the 2 Bobs, man. What exactly, can you tell us what exactly you do here?
If I was Kevin Colbert, and this is just a real hypothetical, I'm getting a little Madden-y here, but if I could find a receiving back on the market today or tomorrow to trade for, I might do that because I don't know if I trust anyone else besides James Conner.
You got one in Smallwood.
Yeah, okay, I forgot about Wendell Smallwood. Yeah, but Samuels is just not the answer.
Yeah, I don't think, and that guy doesn't give you really anything in special teams.
I mean, he plays, but it's not anything to write home about.
But I've had about, and look, we were right. We knew that a guy like McFarland probably wasn't going to see any time, right? I think I had said that last week. He got one snap, and he, bless his heart, he tried to deke himself right into the ground there, on that. That wasn't a shock. That's not his fault. It's that's not the kind of game that he needs to be in yet. Not being an experienced pass protector, but does Jalen Samuels have to be the guy you put in there? I think Samuels is very, very much expendable right now.
Did Benny Snell play an offensive snap yesterday?
No, he did not.
He did not?
No, he did not.
I know they didn't have a lot of short yardage, but that's interesting.
He was special teams, Benny Snell.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it. I like him running out kicks and punts. All right, so anything else with the offense, Dave, you want to touch on?
I'm trying to think what else sticks out to me. I haven't looked at the run success rates. I'll have those for everybody come midweek there. What bad? There was some. I tell you what did stick out. It might even be an illegal block too. Did you see what McLeod did on that one long run by James Conner over to the right side over there? Good on McLeod for wanting to get physical and block, but I thought he kind of peeled back on a defensive back on that. So A, I like the effort there. B, I kind of wonder if they missed a penalty on that situation. That stuck out. Eric Ebron, once again, not afraid to get in there and mix it up there in blocking. So definitely, not going to go to the Pro Bowl in that area, but we are seeing him at least put the effort in to be a run blocker there in certain situations. Alejandro Villanueva, I thought, played a good game. I think Matt Filer played a pretty good game overall. I'd like to see DeCastro on the move on a couple plays. Played a pretty decent game overall. I'm trying to think who might have had the worst game offensively for the Steelers.
On the entire offense?
On the offense.
Jalen Samuels, Deontay unfortunately had the frustrating hamstring injury. He came back though, which was good, but he didn't do a whole lot. I don't know. It was just the first half he just couldn't get into a rhythm. He weren't converting on possession downs. The Ravens were definitely winning with confusion. Ben was not looking good. Obviously in the first half he struggled a good bit trying to connect on the deep ball, leaving on some quick timing routes. So it was just an overall mess in the first half. But again, I really think going empty with those 4 receiver sets were the difference in this one.
Chase Claypool in that fumble, you hate to see it. I thought he got it back, to be honest with you. At first, I thought he got it back there. But look, when you play, especially a team like the Ravens, and it wasn't Marlon Humphrey that ripped it out either. I think it was Marcus Peters, I think. But
right.
Those guys will go ball hunting. So if you got a wet, rainy day like that, you better hold on to that football. And I think you learned a valuable lesson in that game yesterday.
He did.
He had great move off the line to, we've seen, how many times have we seen that now? 2 or 3 times this season. Him do a good job of getting off the line in that situation and using that big old body of his to shield and make the reception and tuck right away. Just got to hold on to that football.
Yep, just finished the play. Everything else about it was good until the end. All right, Dave, so that should cover the offense. Let's switch over to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And you want to talk about the good stuff or the bad stuff with the defense? Because there was quite a bit of both Sunday.
Yeah, look, the elephant in the room was the run defense, especially after Tyson Alu left the game. Bugs, just a miserable first half, I think, overall. Yeah. Some of that stuff you can't see, though, until we get the all 22 on it. But he was getting moved. Hayward got, I think, turned a couple times. I think even Tuitt got turned once or twice there. One thing that we talked about that we wondered if we would see a lot of in this game, right out of the chute, especially early, heavy, that mesh charge, man. And they did that. All it takes, though, look, I mean, it was just simple power for a lot of stuff they were getting run against, and that stuff was going for 10, 12, 14, 23 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint and dial down the exact issues. I think the combination of losing Alu, your defensive line, just depth being tested overall, younger players, less guys to rotate in, more tired legs. The mesh charge has a benefit because obviously it prevents Lamar from being as impactful in the run game, but it has the drawback, obviously, of now you got 10 guys to defend if he hands the football off, which he's going to do in basically all those situations that you mesh charge. And so now it's 10 instead of 11 trying to defend the run. And so that forces guys like Joe Hayden to become more active in the run game and to become the force player and stuff like that. So that hurts you. I think the Steelers, while they can obviously succeed versus zone schemes, they don't defend the run quite as well against zone runs as they do gap and man blocking schemes. And so the Baltimore was able to rip off some nice zone runs against them and get guys down the track and create cutback lanes and things like that. So combination of things. Baltimore went to the option offense in the second half. The Steelers don't have the sideline to sideline speed at outside or at inside linebacker to contain some of that stuff where you really felt the loss of Devin Bush. So it was a lot of things in this one, some schematically, some from an execution standpoint. But yeah, Baltimore just had their way on the ground. No team has had as many rushing yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense as Baltimore did since the 1993 Seattle Seahawks. So it's been a long time the Steelers have been gashed on the ground like this.
Yeah, and the amount of rushing yards that they allowed in the first half was 100 and what did I write up in that? Hold on a minute here.
165, I think. Forget the number.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where's the article on the Watt blow up on the sideline there. That's where I have that written in there at. Let's see. Okay, the Ravens. Let's see. Ravens had 131 rushing yards at the point of the game on 20 total carries where Watt and Keith Butler were jawing at each other. They added another 48 yards rushing in the first half after Watt and Butler had their exchange. A lot of good that did. Mm-hmm. And according to Jim Nantz, I have not researched this back myself, but according to Jim Nantz of CBS Sports at halftime, the 179 rushing yards the Steelers defense allowed in the first half was the second most allowed by them in a game in 25 years in the first half. The last time a Steelers defense gave up that many rushing yards in the first half of a game was against the Oakland Raiders in 2013 when they allowed 182 ground yards on 23 total first half attempts. You remember what
the Terrell Pryor? Why you gotta bring that memory up?
Yeah,
Dave?
You remember.
How could I forget?
Some things that just get implanted into your brain that you will never get rid of. That was one of them there. I look forward to seeing the all 22 end zone view on a lot of this because it's so hard to pick out what exactly went wrong on a lot of this.
It is.
From the TV tape, but we got a few replays from kind of the end zone view, and you see bugs and look, Bud Dupree got greedy at one point trying to dive down in and get in on the fun, and Lamar Jackson just ran around him on the outside there. We saw and we said early in the show too. One play specifically that run on the edge over to the right side there by what's his name? KJ.
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins. He just beat Spillane over to the edge over there. It makes you kind of wonder. Those are the kind of plays that Devin Bush maybe makes for you there. Sure. Here's the good thing. Until you face Lamar Jackson again in a few more weeks, you're not going to face another quarterback like that. I don't think maybe the rest of the season, right?
Right. The element of the quarterback run game is something the Steelers have not had to deal with this season. They didn't have to deal with it in Tennessee or Cleveland, and so that's an extra wrinkle in the run game where you have to do things like mesh charge, which makes the rest of your run defense harder when the back has the football. So tough game for sure. Most rushing yards allowed by the Steelers in a Pittsburgh Steelers victory since the 1972 Bills, who went for 254, and the Steelers still won that game. Baltimore finished with 265 yesterday. So pretty unusual stats there. Of course, very, very uncommon for a team to run for 260 plus and lose. But the Steelers, again, finding ways to win, not winning pretty, but winning nonetheless.
The thing is, it just grinds you down too. You get into the second half, they were worn out on those last couple of drives, man. Just
Right.
worn slap out, and then you're so afraid of the run that it sucks up those linebackers in any and all kind of play action kind of situations there. So then you worry about getting crushed, down the middle of the field, which happened, I think, in a cover 3 with, who was it, Snead or no, Marquise Brown, I think. Whatever one got kind of loose on him.
Duvernay on the third and 14th.
Yeah, Duvernay, yeah. My boy Duvernay. I hate to see my boys make plays against the Steelers like that. Boy, yeah, that's just exactly what he did too at Texas. That kind of stuff right there. But look, they got out of the stadium with the W there. As bad as the run defense was, and it was bad. Pass defense obviously wasn't bad at all. Can we talk about one Alex Highsmith? When you can quickly point out that a guy that doesn't play a lot of snaps just really jumping off of the TV tape in a game, I think that speaks volumes. And that was the case with Alex Highsmith. He played, here's the thing, he played 20-something snaps in that game. None for Ola Adeni in this game, and none, as we mentioned, for Jaron Elliott. So that the torch has been passed, if you will, officially now at this point. So and I thought Alex Highsmith did a good job of learning from his mistake. I think early down in that game on a red zone, I think, toss over there to the left. He didn't get depth. He said after the game that he learned from that. It sort of kind of reminded you of T.J. Watt's first career interception several years ago against the Cleveland Browns when T.J. Watt did a good job of gaining depth. And I think if you go back to the last game against the Week 5, sort of a similar route combination the Ravens ran against the Steelers that I think Mike Hilton picked off in that game.
Yeah, very similar. And so I have the clips up on my Twitter timeline showing the first play from Highsmith and then the interception in the second half. They used him in some 3 outside linebackers. So basically, I guess it would have been some 3-5 groupings, I believe, where I think Edmonds was taken off. Do we know who was taken off in those situations?
I think it was Edmonds because his snap total was down. I haven't gone through it a fine tooth, but that jumped out at me when going through the snap total.
Right. Yeah, I have not been able to chart yet because of the Williamson deal last night. So they were using him for some of those, and then of course rotational packages. And yeah, I tweeted out last week that it felt like Highsmith was trending in that direction of becoming the number 3 outside linebacker, and I think yesterday cemented that with his performance and, of course, reflected in the snap count total. So good job from him. Another rookie stepping up. A lot of these rookies that you weren't sure how much they were going to contribute this year are really stepping up in big ways, so you love to see that. And just to go back to the run defense overall, I mean, I think that obviously the defense has to do their job, but the fact the offense in the first half, they were not possessing the football. They were not going on long drives. The Steelers defense was always on the field, and that's going to wear you down too. The Steelers have done a great job the last 4 weeks of ball control, of possessing the football, and the defense just not playing a lot of snaps. They're playing 50 to 60 snaps per game. The Ravens had like 70-something plays on them, and so it's just tough to play good run defense when you're on the field so much.
Pass defense, look, they were still able to get Jackson's so athletic, man. That guy can escape out of a paper bag, I think. Vincent Williams missed him on one. In fact, was that the one that the bogus hit early? What do you think of? I guess the time to hit that one real quick. What do you think about the that early late hit roughing that on Cameron Hayward or Minka over there on the sideline? Everybody was in bounds when Hayward comes barreling through. And knocked him out. I thought that was just a total BS penalty there, and it let the drive continue, and they ended up going down and scoring.
Yeah, no, it was a terrible call. Were they saying that it was a late hit because they considered Jackson out of bounds, or was it because they considered the play to be dead because Minka had stood Jackson up? I didn't get clarification on that, but either way, that's just a bad call.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't remember hearing a whistle or that being the case.
Because he was in bounds. He was 100% in bounds.
Here's the thing too, and later on in the game too, with Lamar all kind of sidestepping. You want to sidestep and play games on the sideline like that, you're gonna get popped. All right, and you got to quit protecting these guys. If they don't want to get hit, they need to run their ass out of bounds. You can't throw a flag like that early in the game and try to send a message like that you're going to that you're going to protect a quarterback, or really any player for that matter, but specifically a quarterback, and then have in the second half him kind of do what he did along the sideline in front of Robert Spillane. You know?
Right. Right.
What happens if he kind of tiptoes that, and then Robert Spillane just flies by and don't want to hit him, and then Lamar Jackson picks up and or goes for the touchdown in that situation? So you can, I understand. Okay, you want to set a precedent early in the game there like that. Well, you don't get mad if those things have repercussions, because players are so afraid to get a hit, a penalty, and a fine. Obviously, here will be the telling tale. Will anybody get fined for that?
They shouldn't. Hayward better not get fined for that.
Well, if they don't, then that means that there was a wrong call was made on the field.
Yeah, I think it was the wrong call. So, but speaking of coverage and speaking of Spillane, about the pick six, we all expected that. Robert Spillane to have a pick six.
Absolutely.
Lamar Jackson on the first drive of the game. Just a great read, great drive on the football. Whoever's called that an easy pick is wrong. That was a really great read and an awesome rep there for Spillane and to house that. So the last interception Spillane had was in 2017 at Western Michigan. That was also a first quarter pick six. So Robert Spillane is good at picking the ball off early in games apparently. But and Spillane had a good day in coverage. He had the breakup on Dobbins, like you mentioned earlier, in the pick six. So I think overall he's making some plays in coverage.
And one of the ones that he did give up, I think, early in the game there to the wide receiver
Snead. Yeah, it's a third. That would you can't expect.
Right, you're right. You can't expect him to stick with him that long.
No. And they put Vince on Boykin and just some weird linebackers on receiver stuff.
Right, and look, I mean, if you're gonna do that, you got to get home. Your blitzers got to get home, and they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're trying to do, at least on the Boykin touchdown where Vince Williams was on Boykin, they're trying to disguise because the back walked out and they got the cornerback on him, so they're trying to show, because if you see the cornerback on the running back, you think it's zone coverage. If the linebacker's on the running back, you think it's man. So they're trying to hide by playing man and have the corner on the running back, but you can't put your linebacker in that situation to cover Miles Boykin. I mean, I would rather not disguise that and get myself in a right personnel matchup than try to disguise it and be in the wrong personnel matchup.
It was a great read, great throw by Jackson overall, though. On that,
It was.
Look, another thing that we said, Lamar, you got to make Lamar Jackson put that ball in the air, and they did it just enough. And make no mistake about it, Lamar Jackson helped the Steelers win that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great throws on the Spillane pick six or the Highsmith interception, but kudos to the linebackers for making some cornerback-like plays. I thought they were just still impressive reps overall. And, yeah, the only time the Ravens really killed the Steelers in the air was a lot of the miscommunication, a lot of busted coverage, the Duvernay catch, the Willie Snead catch on 2nd and 22, Hollywood Brown getting wide open on that touchdown that was, nearly a touchdown. It was reviewed and then called back. They scored on the next play. So, a lot of Steelers beating Steelers, where we're still seeing some of the communication problems pop up in coverage, unfortunately.
I think in one of the things I wrote pregame too was no double explosives, and please remember I wrote about and we talked about, I think, on a podcast this past week about explosives on third and long. So the two biggest things I was worried about, obviously, I think my number one key to the game was, stop the run, which obviously they didn't do a good job of doing there. But another thing was no doubles explosive plays, which they've had a few issues with. We talked about last week, and then explosives on third. And for the most part, outside, I think they gave up one explosive play on 3rd and long yesterday. So better in that category overall. They did give up, I think, 7 total explosive plays. That's obviously about 3 or 4 too many overall. But there were no double explosive plays, I do not think, and there was only one explosive on third.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's good enough overall. Some of that stuff was costly. That one explosive play on third was a Duvernay catch, and so that one came late, which hurt you for sure. But yeah, I mean, guys just overall stepped up. Even in Isaiah Buggs, for example, that struggled so much in the first half, he made some big plays as a pass rusher in the second half, beating Mascara and getting pressure. And Stefan Tuitt was a monster. I mean, they just could not block Tuitt. And Watt, I thought overall played really well. 5 quarterback hits, a sack, played the run hard. So while there's a lot of ugliness for this game, there was a lot of individual efforts that were impressive. It was weird. There were a lot of individual guys I thought played well, but collectively it just didn't always work well together.
One other note, we just talked about the Snead catch and run against Spillane. It's going to get lost, and it'll be something we won't talk about 2 weeks from now, though. But Spillane hawked him down and not only made a play on to try to punch out the football, but made the tackle on the way down as well too. So, that's just one of those plays. Okay, he got beat, but he didn't give up on the play, and I think it kind of showed that athleticism that I talked about with him. That sneaky athleticism with him.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I wish he would have just been able to hold on to that football on the one Cam Sutton punched out that Spillane slid into the sidelines on.
He almost had another one, yeah.
Yeah, but Sutton, that was a great play by Sutton there. Sutton's playing really well last 2 weeks and replacing Mike Hilton. Not that he played a ton yesterday, but definitely played well, and happy with how he's doing these last 2 seasons. So again, overall,
Ravens star Marlon Humphrey says he has tested positive for COVID-19. So
that's going to have some ramifications for Pittsburgh.
Sure is. People going to be hopefully the Steelers go through that testing there real well and pass it. Because
I wonder if they're not going to practice. Do they practice today?
He probably gave them off today. Probably,
yeah.
I would think.
And then Tuesday's their typical player's day off, and so Wednesday could be the first day they're back at practice.
If anything, they came in probably and got treatment today. Maybe did a little bit of film or whatnot. But going to be interesting to see the fallout from this.
All right, to go back to the Steelers secondary, Minka making the big play late. Edmonds was okay. I think he might have bit on the one. I think that was a Duvernay catch. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. But to me, again, and I say this all the time, and I think it's worth repeating, and yesterday was a great example of it. Offenses are going to put up points. They're going to move the football. It's hard to play really shut down, lockdown defense in today's NFL. But the key to a good defense are ones who can get pressure, get sacks, which they did. They had 4 sacks on Lamar Jackson, a ton of hits. Ones that can take the football away, which they did. 4 takeaways the Steelers defense had yesterday, and then just make the timely situational plays in red zone, on third down, late in half, late in game. And Pittsburgh did all of those things. So to me, they showed you the hallmark of a good defense, one that is not going to be pretty, and obviously you don't want them giving up 260 plus on the ground every single week, clearly, but in terms of the baseline check marks for me for a good defense, pressure, takeaway, situational football, this defense is still doing a really good job at
that. They missed Mike Hilton in the run game, didn't they?
Yeah, but nice to have. I think it's probably they didn't want to play Hilton because you can't have a bum shoulder and try to play against the Ravens. I mean, you're gonna hurt yourself out there. You're gonna hurt the team.
Right. I mean, they missed him more. Yeah. And look, I'm not taking anything away from him in coverage either. But they missed him more in the run game than they did in the secondary.
Yeah. I mean, how much? I don't know how much they were in. Well, maybe they were in nickel a good bit. I'll have to look at some of the numbers, but certainly you want Mike Hilton out there. I think Tomlin said that's one reason why they had Highsmith in that 5 linebacker package to kind of be an extra wrinkle to supplement not having Hilton out there.
All right, what else stuck out defensively? I think that was a cover 3 that was it Marquise Brown got loose on later in the game.
I
think it was a zone down the middle of the field.
The one that was caught?
Yeah.
I think it was Duvernay because Brown only had that one
Duvernay?
catch for the touchdown. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what happened there exactly. I don't know if Edmonds had bid. I have to look at that one again, but definitely some chunk plays that could have been obviously better contested and some Steelers beating Steelers type stuff.
Right.
With the rest of the defense, again, Tuitt was great. Bugs, I thought, was hold up there in the second half, and so that was good to see. Mondo had some pressure, but just you're counting on Isaiah Bugs and Henry Mondo to try to stop Lamar Jackson and company. It's just tough to do down in and down out. So hopefully you get Cam Hayward and Tyson Alualu back sooner rather than later.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Dave. From special team standpoint, Boswell, was fine. Barry did okay. They had the one JV punt early, unfortunately, but he kind of seemed to bounce back and recover the rest of the game. So no big gas on special teams overall, and so I guess you kind of take it.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave, anything else you want to cover from the Ravens game, or do you want to move on here?
Yeah, I got through most of it that was in my head. Obviously, there's a lot that I still want to unpack once we get to all 22, and I really didn't spend as much because of us having to get to New York Jets defensive tape last night. I kind of breezed through that fourth quarter a little bit quicker than I probably should have on the TV tape last night.
All right, quick look at the AFC North. The Steelers, of course, are 7-0, and obviously the implications from winning this game were pretty big. You're now 7-0. You're 2 games up on the AFC North division race. The Browns things up in a terrible loss to Las Vegas.
What happened in that game?
I didn't really watch it, but it seemed like they could do nothing. Baker was bad. The run game was non-existent, and it just seemed like a low-scoring affair.
I mean, did weather play? I haven't gone through it I don't think weather played that big of a deal in it, did it?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that one. And the Bengals getting the upset win over the Titans. So kudos to Joe Burrow and company.
Absolutely, but nice lead the Steelers have. When's the last time that we've been able to talk about this? Essentially a 3-game lead over the Ravens right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know when. Been a long time for sure. Last note, actually, I want to say for the defense is, again, the pressure. This defense is up to 30 sacks this season. They're on pace for 68, so they're still keeping a really healthy pace. And TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, and Stefan Wisniewski all have as many or more sacks than the Jacksonville Jaguars defense has this season. So the pressure this team is generating week in and week out is really remarkable.
We're still looking for that all-around complete defensive performance that just lights out. Now, they had a good showing against Cleveland a couple weeks ago, but assuming you got health is on your side here going in, this thing sets up. Obviously you would think that a team like the Cowboys, I don't think you have to worry about the red rifle going Lamar Jackson on you. If he even plays. If he plays, right. And I don't think that's even guaranteed at this point, the shape the Cowboys are in right now. So, this, you kind of expect kind of a stifling performance, if you will, probably maybe the most complete performance of the year, hopefully, against the Cowboys in Week 9 here.
Yeah, although I don't want to assume anything because the Cowboys have some weapons at receiver, and it's a 3-game stretch here on the road for Pittsburgh. A lot of tough physical games. Obviously, Pittsburgh's going to be the heavy favorite in this one over Dallas, as they should be. The expectations are going to be high for this one, but I don't want to assume anything. We know that's happened before in games. The Pittsburgh Steelers look good on paper. It doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
All right, Dave. Let's before we get to some reader emails, we do want to do that before we close out today's show. Let's hear from our friends over at MyBookie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, ever since I started out, people have been asking me advice on all kind of things, but in covering sports, it's usually about who's going to win and what team they should bet on. You got let's take an example. Who's tonight, Alex?
The Bucks and
the Giants, right?
Giants.
Yeah, gotcha. You got the Bucks or the Giants tonight.
Tampa Bay.
What?
I have Tampa Bay. Who do you have?
I'm trying to remember. I think I took the Bucks in that. Yeah. Okay. Well, the best piece of advice I can give to anyone is where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. It's why I always tell people to visit MyBookie. They've got deposit matches, free bets, and huge cash prize contests for you to take advantage of all season long. NFL action? Check. College ball? Check. Check. Plus, they have mobile-friendly website and top-of-the-line customer service, making their platform a one-stop shop for all your betting needs. MyBookie offers action on everything from championship futures to NFL in-game live betting, making sure you're covered every step of the way. Congrats if you're one of the ones to cash in on the generous early season odds on the Los Angeles Lakers to win the NBA championship. Sign up at MyBookie today, and when you do, use our promo code TERRIBLE to claim a deposit match dollar for dollar all the way up to $1,000. It's a bonus designed to give you a little help and a head start on your winning season. That's promo code TERRIBLE for you to claim your bonus when you make your deposit. Stacked UFC cards, presidential prop bets, all the major sports and more await you. Sign up today to begin your winning season exclusively at MyBookie.
All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
Oh, Lord, we got a bunch of them.
I figured.
Let's see here. from Chris Campbell, run defense adjustments. I was wondering if either of you saw any specific adjustments by the defense in the second half against Baltimore against the run. It seemed like the defense, for the most part, was much more capable in stopping the run after getting completely gashed in the first half. I understand you might not be able to tell more until the All-22 comes out, but did either of you see any particular adjustments, or was it just perhaps better execution? Chris, look, I mean, they still gave up quite a few yards. They were gassed on those on the second to last drive. How unnerving was it too to watch them go all the way down the field? What was it? The second to last drive there?
Yeah. I mean, it was, but then just I don't know if we touched on it. That 4th and 3 draw. I mean, great play by Bugs, by Williams, by Minkah Fitzpatrick to make that tackle on Lamar. That is so tough to defend that, of empty out a spread like that, and to make that play. Kudos to those guys, because that was obviously monumental.
Absolutely, it was. And no, look, it's going to be one of those things where, as we mentioned, I think we're going to have to see some all 22 to get a little bit deeper in there to see. I don't think it was so much. I didn't notice any huge adjustments, especially in the second half, right?
No, I didn't either, and I would like to say it's not that they really adjusted well. They still got ran all over in the second half,
right,
too, so whatever they did, it's not like they shut down the Ravens in the second half and there was some big magical fix. They never really fixed it. They stopped the bleeding a little bit, but it never really went well from start to finish.
Was that the right call for them with Lamar Jackson late on the keeper?
I mean, you put the ball in your best player's hands. I don't blame him for that. I think the Steelers just made a heck of a play, because that is just a lot of grass to defend, and then to stop Lamar 2 out of that is awfully impressive.
Jim Bendis writes in about Bruce Arians. Quick question: why does the press paint Bruce Arians as one of the best head coaches in the NFL? Don't get me wrong, I'm a big Bruce Arians fan, but if I look at his record, it is a pretty respectable, but I'm not sure it is a Hall of Fame numbers. And he goes on to list his numbers here. So what makes Arians so special is his ability to turn around. Is it his ability to turn around? I don't know if I see so many people gushing that much about him. Do you, Alex? Comparatively?
I think he's well respected. I think people like him.
I'm a huge Bruce Arians fan. I've never been shy of admitting that. I think he's good with his players. I think schematically, look, he needs to get off of those 4 verts sometimes, but he knows the value of chunk plays and yada yada. I think he's still in touch with today's NFL, but I don't think the media goes over the top on him.
Yeah, I think people obviously like him for that old school demeanor, tell it how it is, kind of very matter-of-fact personality that's endearing and refreshing in the world of coach speak and things like that. So I think that gets Arians kind of a bump in terms of the media view of him. But I think he is a good coach for sure, and obviously he's doing a good job with Tampa Bay this year.
Yeah, maybe I just haven't been paying enough attention to it, Jim. I don't know. Will, let's see. Let me see. Let's see. Tim Martin. David, just wanted to drop you a line, let you know I wish you all the best. I'm actually a long-time broadcaster myself. I've listened to the Terrible Podcast for many years. You are not the traditional radio announcer, but I've always enjoyed your unabashed commentary. You offer your honest point of view. Sounds like you've had some rough times and continue to battle. Hang in there. Okay, appreciate that, Tim. Let's see here. Will Fernandez. Hello, David Alex. Happy Victory Monday. If Chris Wormley and Tyson Alualu are out for a significant time, how about signing Don Terry Poe, who was recently released from the Cowboys? I think he would be a decent backup nose tackle. Thoughts? Let me start this one by saying Don Terry Poe. I was a big Don Terry Poe stan, if you will, when he came out of Memphis there. Boy, it seems like it's been, were you even born yet? Obviously he's back on it. He's not the player that, he didn't become the player that I thought he would become, and I don't think he is the player now on top of it. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but I just think for that, I don't think there's enough there to warrant going after there.
I was asked about this last night on Twitter, and I said Poe was cut from Dallas because he was 30 pounds overweight. And do you know how bad you have to be cut by the Cowboys defense for them to say you're not good enough to play for us? I will pass on Dontari Poe. I, too, liked him coming out of Memphis, a really big athletic guy, but just not there anymore. Although one name that was suggested to me who could circle back, could Daniel McCullers circle back? He's on the Bears practice squad right now. He's not done anything for them. So if they need somebody short-term who knows the defense, Big Dan could circle back.
I think it's possible. I think it's definitely possible. You know, he left obviously on good terms. He was on the practice squad when he got poached, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I could see a short-term reunion between those sides.
We'll see what the shape of Tyson Alualu is. Look, I mean, it would have to be obviously because Tyson's going on IR for starters. How far along is your rookie at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Davis too. Is it time? Is it time to get him some snaps in there as well, too? So
you might not have a choice if you don't have Alualu and Hayward.
Right.
We'll see.
We shall see. But, Will, yeah, look, I was a big Poe fan, but I think that ship's probably sailed now here. A win is a win, but this is from Devin Beerley. Hey, guys, thanks for everything you do. I'm thrilled the Steelers are 7-0 and have gutted out 2 tough games on the road as back-to-back weeks. But last week in Tennessee, the turnover margin was -3. This week against Baltimore, the Ravens rushed for nearly 300 yards, though the Steelers escaped with 2 impressive victories. Should we concerned about them maybe getting lucky, or should we take the wins and not worry? I understand the angle of wanting now to look and see what's wrong, and try to look at if anybody's behind you, I guess, so to speak. Look, it takes a couple breaks in games to get 7, to get a 7-0 on a season, especially kind of the opponents that Steelers have played here. I think yesterday's performance defensively was related to what the Baltimore Ravens do. I think it was a byproduct of the Ravens being a good running team, having an extremely mobile quarterback. I think they really match up really, really good. We'll see what kind of the All-22 says in there. And I think offensively kind of the same thing there. Baltimore really matches up man across with some good corners and a good pass rush there against the Steelers. And kudos to the Steelers for cracking that nut in the second half there. I guess long and short of it is let's not look behind us right now. 7-0. Let's look ahead and see what this team can do, overcoming some of these injuries right now, and moving forward into what is presumably a very, very soft spot of the schedule before they play the Ravens again.
Yeah, I mean, these are just tough games. They're not always going to be pretty. You're playing against some really good teams. I mean, the Browns, Titans, Ravens all had some of the best records in football when you played them, and you beat them all. So I'm just happy with that because it's tough to beat anybody in the NFL, much less the teams that they have bested the last 3 games. And by the way, according to Diana Rossini, she says the Steelers' COVID-19 tests all came back negative, per source. Just tweeted that 5 minutes ago off the news of Marlon Humphrey having tested positive for COVID. We know this is not a guarantee that no one has COVID for the Steelers. There's an incubation period. We've seen, obviously, later week positive tests pop up and things like that. But that is some good initial news for the Steelers on the COVID front.
Absolutely. Let's see. What else do we have here on the email machine? Blown coverage last play. Top left, was he uncovered here? Talking about, it looks like somebody's uncovered on the outside top of it. I'll have to go back and look at that. I haven't looked at that specifically, Matt. But yeah, it looks like somebody's running free in the left corner of the end zone that maybe Lamar Jackson missed. Is that Brown over there on the left side? You see the last play?
No, I'm not looking at it. That's the last play, the literal last play, the incompletion. Is that the play referencing?
Right.
I haven't seen it yet, so I do not know.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that one. I hadn't noticed that either. There. Let's see here. Seth Bergstein. Hey, David Alex. Happy Victory Monday. Loving the completeness of the team right now. Really feeling like the sky is the limit from here. 2 separate questions. How much of the gashing on the ground from Baltimore would you attribute to Alualu missing most of the game? Is he that much of a difference maker, or were there other factors to play? If you already answered this on the show, feel free to ignore. Seth, we're still That would be a topic definitely Alex and I get into the run based on the all 22. There's just a lot that you can't see, unfortunately, with the TV tape. That'll definitely show up in the all 22. You agree, Alex?
Yeah, I would put it down to a couple different factors. It's not all the loss of Alu. It's the time of possession battle the Steelers lost, which certainly forced the Steelers defense to be on the field more than they have been.
9 minutes possession in the first half, 9:20 or something like that.
Not a lot, and that's certainly not a good position to be in if you want to stop the run. It was the downsides of the mesh charge, gives you only 10 to defend the running back if the quarterback hands the football off, and then the Ravens just have a great scheme with a quarterback to worry about as well, and so you got to give Baltimore credit too, because they had the number one rushing attack coming into this game, and they proved why they were number one in football exiting this game.
Number 2, are you concerned about a possible letdown in Dallas? It just seems in the past decade or so, the minute the team starts believing in itself, the next heavy favorite road game brings them to earth. This year feels different, though. Thoughts? Look, get this through your head, people. There is no such thing as a trap game in the NFL. There is no such thing as a trap game in the NFL. There is no such thing as a trap game in the NFL. Learn it. Live it. Now, look, I mean, coming off of 2 very physical games on the road, and now another one on the road. I mean, we'll see. You would think Mike Tomlin's been through this rodeo enough, you know. Am I concerned? Am I concerned about it? No, because I don't think I have any reason to be concerned about it.
Yeah, I don't believe in the trap game mantra and stuff. It's not like there's a big game looming after anyway for Pittsburgh, but I've just learned, especially being a Steelers fan, to never get too comfortable when you're riding high, because that can change pretty quickly. That's just life in the NFL. Look at Tennessee, for example. They thought, okay, we lost to Pittsburgh. We'll come in, we'll beat a bad Bengals team, and then right the ship, and they lose that one. So upsets happen every single week, and I'm not going to take any game for granted, regardless of what the other opponent is or is not doing.
Right.
All right, Dave, what else we got?
Let's see here. Do you reading that statement Burt Lawton just sent out?
No, I have not. What is he saying? Oh, yeah, I can pull it up there, but I have not.
Okay. This morning, the NFL informed us that a Baltimore Ravens player tested positive for COVID-19. Our results from Sunday's testing have all come back negative. We will follow the NFL's intensive protocols and take precautionary measures at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex to ensure the safety of our players, coaches, and staff remain on highest priority. From Burt Lawton.
Yeah, so we'll see we'll see if they practice today. I'm guessing they don't. Tomorrow's a regularly scheduled day off, and Wednesday's the first day back at practice, so hopefully they can stay on track for at least Wednesday.
All right, this one says Randy. David Alex, longtime listener, first-time emailer. Quick question about Ben and Randy. When Ben came out and he said he was playing backyard football in the second half, what does that say about Randy's play-calling ability? 0, right?
Yeah, I don't see that as in some sort of indictment of Fichtner. Ben obviously is capable of doing that. He's done that before, maybe not to the extreme they did it yesterday, but I think it was just kind of the thing that they had to do to win the game. So I'm not going to be overly critical of Fichtner in this one.
We obviously don't know what their halftime conversation was, but does it seem like a bad look for an OC to hand over the play calling to the quarterback for the second half? The answer would that be no. You want your quarterback in today's NFL to have the autonomy to look and see something and then make adjustments on the fly. He goes on to say, we all know Ben is great when he plays backyard ball, but I can't help but think how poorly that may look on Randy. I'm not criticizing Randy, just curious about your thoughts behind this decision and how it may look on the surface. Thanks for all your great content you both provide on a weekly basis. Nobody better. I look at it too, and I think Alex hit on this a couple weeks ago that at least you don't have an offensive coordinator with it's my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right? Not a control freak saying.
Right,
I'm running the show.
You run this, and look, I mean, when you line up at the line of scrimmage, things change. You might have one play called in a certain situation. Now, look, obviously, when you go no huddle too, what they do, I mean, what happens in those situations anyway? The quarterback's usually calling things at that point. So. And somebody, you got to make checks at the line of scrimmage. I know what this will be used for. This will be used for to fit the narrative that the Steelers at 7-0 need to fire their offensive coordinator. But and I've already gotten some of that, on Twitter. People want to fire Keith Butler and Randy Fichtner there. I don't see how you suggest that at 7-0. No, I don't look at it as an indictment at all. I look at it as growth by Roethlisberger more than anything right now.
And I think you hit on the critical point, Dave, of because you're playing a Ravens team that is so multiple, so chaotic, you have to make so many changes once you just see what the Ravens are doing. So any play call that comes in probably gets changed anyway because you don't know what kind of pressure and looks you're getting from them. So to do that and just let Ben read and react to what Baltimore is showing you is probably the right way to go about it in that game.
All right, David Leggieri, happy victory Monday, gentlemen. A few quick questions for you. Do the Steelers get burned with linebackers in coverage more than most teams, or am I just frustrated? You're just frustrated. Snead and Boykin took advantage of that yesterday on their first TD drive. We already kind of hit on that. There's going to be certain situations where you hate to see it, but occasionally when a guy's going to be lined up that out there like that, and if you don't get home, you're probably going to get burned.
Why is it always Willie Snead, though? Why is he the Steelers killer? I said that on Friday's show. I said, Willie Snead's going to be the thorn in the Steelers side, and he went over for 100 yards yesterday. He's always just the big guy they can't stop.
Yeah, like him and Higgins, right? Higgins is one of those guys. Who's another one that Danny Amendola?
Right. And he slot Patriots receiver over the years.
Right. Number 2, what's going on with the coverage near the end zone? Seems like once per week there's a guy wide open inside their zone coverage. When Minka coming over too late to try to clean it up, he obviously saved the game at the end, but Brown was wide open earlier for a TD. Ugly wins are better than pretty losses. What's your overarching thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, on some of those, Lamar was extending the play. I think on the Brown touchdown, that one, or almost touchdown, that was extended. The Steelers are not as good of a zone team as they were a man team, but you have to play zone against these mobile quarterbacks, so that puts the Steelers in a bit of a tough spot philosophically. So I hear you. I mean, there's definitely some frustration there. It all can't be excused away with a victory, but zone defense for this team is not their strength, and when you're facing a good quarterback like Jackson who can keep the play alive for 5, 6, 7 seconds, it is tough to cover for that long.
All right, let's move along here. Boy, we got a lot of questions here. Jonathan Pasella writes in, hey, guys, appreciate your insights on these questions. What could the Steelers defense have done differently in the first half to slow the Ravens running attack? Number 2, how did T.J. Watt end up covering Hollywood Brown on his touchdown reception? Was that a mistake on a defensive part or just the way it falls when T.J. is asked to drop into coverage? Number 3, maybe you'll need all 22 to answer, but who missed their assignments on the big receptions to Snead and Duvernay? I think we got a lot of that already blocked out, don't we, John?
In terms of trying to stop the run, I mean, it's hard to tell off first blush. I think it would have been tough to do. I don't have any great answers for you right now. With Watt on Brown, I don't think he was specifically on Brown. It was zone coverage. I mean, that reminded me of the interception Watt had last year against the Cardinals and Kyler Murray on 4th down, and sometimes the other team makes the play. And then on the Snead and the other ones, I think Edmonds might have been responsible for the one. For the Snead one, I do not know what happened on that play.
All right, Anthony Morgan, teams are 1-5 after playing the Steelers. Seems like the physicality and punishment the Steelers put on teams carries over, hopefully meaning a Ravens loss next week. The Ravens, who do they play next week? I just wrote that up. Indianapolis, don't they? That'll be a good game.
Do they? That'll be a good game.
Yeah, Bengals and Browns are on byes. Could you explain the difference between a blitz and a run blitz? And what does it say about the offensive play calling when it seems like Ben is better calling the plays than Randy? No huddle situation. That's it. All right. Go. I agree. Go ahead. Just fire Randy, Alex.
All right. He's gone.
All right. Just that's obviously what it means. All right. Take the blitz question.
I mean, they function as the same thing. A run blitz, you're just shooting linebackers in the gaps on rundowns and situations where you expect the opponent to run the football. And if it's a pass, you kind of get to the quarterback along the way. So it's just a mindset thing. You just want to be aggressive and shoot gaps and try to make plays behind the line of scrimmage in terms of those run blitzes.
Todd Jensler, your assessment of the addition of Avery Williamson, any chance to re-sign him after the season? I would say 0 chance. Not 0, but almost 0. How about that?
Doubtful.
Very, very doubtful. I think it is a win at all costs now, and they aren't even looking at next year. Number 2, hopefully Tyson Alualu and Cam Hayward are going to be okay. Losing them plus Devin could spell disaster for this defense. Look, I mean, obviously you continue to lose a big chunk of your defense. It would make a significant impact on it. Let's just hope both those guys come out of this okay. We'll go there winning if that's the case. Finally, could you explain more about your relationship with the media? I know you need to be somewhat politically correct, but I'm completely stupefied by your statement. The media doesn't like us. You got to be kidding me. What am I missing? I don't know how else to put it, Todd. They don't like us. They never have liked us.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a rabbit hole I don't really want to go down here late in the show. I don't know. I just like the work we're doing. I like where we're at right now as a site, and that's really all I focus on.
Right. Let's see. Ravens blew the game by not kicking a field goal on 4th and 3. Getting within 1 means you only need to get back in Tucker's field goal range to win. Instead, when they failed on 4th, now they had to get the touchdown. Thoughts?
I mean, I'm sure they're saying those things over in Baltimore. Hindsight's 20/20, but they got a chance to take the lead there late in the game. They got Lamar. I mean, the run game had been really successful. I don't blame Baltimore for being aggressive there and going for it.
John Tisnick's back, waiting for a response, ? Regarding Dave's stuttering problem. It is a shame because you have a cool sound in sport, a cool sound, SOUND, and then IN, a cool sound in sports voice, Dave, but it would be nice to know you're at least working on your stuttering problem. Don't know how often you listen to your own tips, but I don't think you can go more than 15 to 20 words without stuttering. Makes it very annoying to the listener. This is a second email we've gotten from him on this, Alex, so I don't know. I don't know what to do here.
Well, John, I think you made your point clear. I don't think there's any need to continue to harp on it. I think Dave's doing a great job. I think people enjoy listening to us, and if you don't want to listen to us, that's fine, John, and you don't have to. But I don't think you need to send any more emails about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not working. No, I'm not working on it. Is that what he's asking? Am I working on it? No, I'm not. I have no intentions of working on it. So let's see. Update records. Carlos Torres, at the halfway point of the season, can we get some updated records? I see 3 challenges ahead of us and could see a real chance at 15-1 or 16-0 or 16-0. Look, I have no sense of that at this point. They're playing good. I think there's a very good chance this team is 11-0. Come the next meeting with Baltimore, right? I mean, I'll put it at that.
I mean, they're going to be the favorites in all these games, obviously. And if you think there's a very good chance they're going to be 11-0, I mean, I know this is going to be very takey here. At what point do you entertain the idea of 16-0? How many games would this team have to win for that to really become a worthwhile talking point? Because you're saying 11-0. If they're 11-0, that's a rare territory. That's going to create a discussion.
I think you got to get past that second Baltimore game.
Okay.
And once you do that,
12-0 if they beat Baltimore.
Yeah, but you still got a good Buffalo team after that, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good Buffalo team.
Cincinnati a second time, Cleveland a second time. Yeah, I mean, you entertain the thought after you get past Baltimore, though. But look, just lock up a damn playoff spot first.
For real.
Win the next game against Dallas like you're supposed to. And then go from there. Matt writes in, pod question Ebron. Can you see Eric Ebron playing his way onto the team next season? It seems like he's starting to become a go-to target for Ben. I mean, look, he's under contract, so he's technically already on the team, all right? But, I mean, look, this can be going to be cap strapped. It's going to be tough. I mean, obviously, it's not impossible. But just with one of those guys is going to be gone for sure at the price that they're at right now. We'll see. I mean, it's not out of the question. I think he's still going to have to make a little bit more impact offensively than he is now.
Yeah, I kind of like Ebron's chances of returning. I mean, I think McDonald's done a great job as a blocker, but I think he's much more likely to be released right now than Ebron is. But got the rest of the season to go. We'll kind of take a look at it when the season ends because still so much can change from now to then.
Absolutely. Ian Rappaport says Cam Hayward, who limped off the field yesterday afternoon, is dealing with a minor quad injury. Nothing serious.
Okay. Well, that's good news. That's backing up Jerry Duloc's report. So hopefully it means he can play against Dallas. I guess it's not totally known, but it's short term and worst case scenario.
All right, William Stone, dear Dave and Alex, love the show. I've been listening for about 7 or 8 years, but this is my first time writing in. Good for you, William. Writing this just after Cam Sutton forced a fumble on Mark Andrews in the third quarter of the Ravens game, and Isaiah Buggs just recorded a sack. When was the last time we had this much quality depth on the defensive side of the ball, from Sutton to Spillane, and now Buggs chipping in? I think it's been a while. Yeah, I mean, it's look. That's one of the things that had us so excited about this defense before the season started. Right, you had all those not only returning starters, but a lot of second and third year guys as well too that have been around.
Yeah, I mean, well, it hasn't been only since last year did you have a good starting defense, let alone good depth, and so it's just rare for kind of both sides of the equation. But yeah, the depth here is really good. You got a lot of young guys. You've invested heavily in the draft. Cam Sutton, Isaiah Buggs, draft picks, obviously, and so it's finally all coming together. So yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to the question, but it's probably been a long time since this team has had the level of talent, top to bottom.
All right, is that a good place to stop?
I think so. I think we did about 2 hours today, and we will be back on Wednesday.
All right, we'll be back on Wednesday. Tell people what we're going to try to do tonight.
Yeah, have our YouTube live stream over my YouTube channel, Alex Kozora. You can find it there. Dave and I talking Steelers, answering any and all of your Steelers questions from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. So come join us and hang out with us.
Absolutely. Should have some huge numbers again tonight, I would hope.
I hope so.
Like we did last week, though. All right. Within that, follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast at gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Or even better, a lot of people are taking us up on these ad-free subscriptions for the site. Go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar. For $25 for one calendar year, you can have access to the best Steelers site on the universe. Plain and simple. These guys just knocking it out of the park right now with content. Couldn't be more blessed right now when it comes to that. So in the meantime, hopefully everybody can join us on the YouTube live Monday night. And if not, we will talk to you on Wednesday. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.